Hello there, and thank you so much for watching. I am here today to talk about the idea of finish lines and what to do when a finish line that you were heading toward all of a sudden changes. So have you ever had that experience where you are working on achieving a goal and you have all of your sort of parameters lined out, you know where you're going, you know what you want to achieve, and you know how you think you're going to get there, and you're working really hard and you're heading toward it, and then all of a sudden that finish line or the end goal or where you think you're headed changes, completely unrelated to you, and you feel like you have no control over it? Yeah, that's kind of where I find myself at the moment. And I kind of wanted to talk about that. So I've spoken about this before a little bit, but I wanted to kind of outline where I am specifically and then what to do about it. So for a lot of us in the debt-free community, our main goal is to get out of debt by X date, right? So that's kind of why I started this channel. I wanted to be out of debt within a year, which given my budget was going to be really tight, but I would have been able to do it. So this was back in 2015. And then all of a sudden, like within the first month, so I started my channel in January, and then by February something had happened that kind of shifted my focus a little bit, but didn't really directly affect me. Needless to say, wasn't able to get out of debt in a year because my focus was kind of a little bit shaken, and that tends to happen to me a lot, sadly, and I'm working on it, which is why I'm making this video. Is because I want to work on that and come up with strategies to work on focus. But then the next year, in 2016, what happened was my household income changed, and that kind of completely threw off all my plans for getting out of debt within like 2 years or maybe even 3 years, completely restructured them and made me feel like this finish line that I was headed toward getting out of debt was like so far in the future I didn't even know what to do, because I couldn't even see it anymore. Because what happened was, instead of getting out of debt being my primary focus, what ended up being my primary focus was keeping our house, our family house. So that became my new finish line. And that's just kind of a month-by-month thing. We're working on and trying to make it more, to build it more of a savings by cutting even further, so that it's not a month, we're not living paycheck to paycheck, we're really trying to get out of that cycle. So that's kind of what I wanted to address and talk about and say, well, what do you do when you have this situation where your finish line changes and you feel like it shifts you all out of whack? So the thing you should not do, which I did, is panic and kind of give up. Because like, say you're running a race, and you can see the finish line and it's coming, and then all of a sudden like someone picks it up and moves it so far in the future you can't even see it. Like, I would be really tempted to like be like, forget running, like I'm not gonna run, I'm gonna walk, and I'm gonna smell the flowers, and I'm gonna chat with my friend over here, maybe I'm gonna sit down, maybe I'm gonna take a nap, maybe I'm gonna like go get some snacks and like forget the race altogether. Like, that's what you should not do. So you should definitely not just sit down and stop running. So what you should do is be really honest with yourself about where you are and what's happening. Like, sit yourself down, have a little chat with yourself and say, this is where we are right now. So that's really, that's key. Number one is to reassess where you are and to be really honest about it. Number two is sometimes you have to like give yourself some time and say, you know what, like this stinks. Like, I'm gonna give myself some time to realize this stinks. Don't dwell though. That's like the number one thing, is don't let yourself get caught up in that cycle of like feeling sorry for yourself, because I'm tempted to do that a lot. Like, that's my own personal like problem. Don't do that. Give yourself permission to be sad, but move the heck on. Number three is to come up with new goals and new measures for yourself. So for me, and this kind of took me a while, because I'm like, I'm not going into debt, what's the big deal? But the big deal is you build on those smaller goals to get to somewhere bigger. So for me, this month, one of my goals is to have savings in the bank. And I know sometimes it feels like there's always something else coming up. You know, like, oh, you need a car insurance payment. Oh, you need this new thing, or this thing broke. But just like so many of us in getting out of debt, it's like you stack your pennies together, you come up with your budget, and you do what you can. I know Dave Ramsey preaches this whole scorched earth policy, but sometimes there's only so much earth you can scorch before you A, get tired, or B, like get burned. And that's not something you definitely don't want to do. You don't want to burn yourself out. So, but it's really important to come up with those smaller goals. And then number four is to surround yourself with people who understand where you're going and can kind of give you encouragement in where you're headed. Like, if you want to hang out with people that support you. And that's just kind of true in life across the board. But really be intentional about surrounding yourself with people and feeding yourself things that are good for you, that will help you and support you in your journey to financial freedom, debt freedom, and your journey toward a life of abundance and prosperity. So that's kind of a little bit of where I am right now and my new goals. I'm working on kind of a better video about exactly what my new goals are now that it doesn't look like I'll be getting out of debt anytime soon. And really, that's not the most important goal to me, nor should it be, because, you know, number one is having a roof over your head. So that's really back to where I am, but that doesn't mean that I can't win in little ways along the way. So that's coming. Please stay tuned. And if you haven't, and if you would like to, please click the subscribe button and join me along for the journey. Love to have you, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.